everyone, I'm Erika of beadingschool.com and you are watching Coffee Time with Erika, my weekly beady broadcast. Today we are going to talk about all kinds of round cabochons, and I have lots of jewels to show you, and I would like to make sure today that you understand all the differences and what kind of round stones in beading are out there. So please let me know first if you can hear me, if you can see me. I see Claudia, I see Rachel, I see Linda, I see a Facebook friend, I see Ginny, Cindy, Catherine, and Katja. Thank you so much for letting me know that the technical stuff is all right. Margaret is here, and Facebook user friend. So you can watch today's video live from the Beading School Facebook club, from the Beading School Facebook page, from YouTube, even my own personal profile, and later the recording stays available in all of these places. So even if you miss it in real time, then it stays online and you can watch it, or you can watch it again. And in case that you are watching from the Beading School Facebook Club, which is a cost-safe space on the internet for beading school beaders, then you might need to give permission to my program that I use that makes it possible for me to put, for example, 2 pictures or show you my hand camera. So you might need to give permission to my program to see your name and profile. And if you open the description of the video and you click the link, then you can easily do that in a few seconds. The program doesn't do anything else. It only shows me your name. So in case that you, for example, have a question, then I can answer you personally, and it just makes it so much nicer to be together. In the meanwhile, so if I don't say your name, then it means that I don't see your name for now, and you might need to do that if you would like to. I see Lita, I see Mehta, Blutka, Renee, Shelly, Yosin, Jessica, Antoinette, Sarah, while unpacking her beads in her new home. Enjoy unpacking. Show us your new place, Sarah. And wishing you all the best in this new phase of your life. And Cosima is here, and Terry, and Amanda, and Carol, and Corinne, and Irina, Sherry, Kalpana, Ingrid, and Donna. So I hope you are looking forward. I collected lots and lots of interesting things for you about round stones. But first, I want to mention that the Beading School Academy students are real shooting stars. Their willingness to experiment opens not only the door, but also all the windows towards growing as a beader. The use of colors and shapes in the jewels that you post in the Beading School Club and your emerging ideas are the daily proofs of it. And a specific detail that I love witnessing when I go to the Beading School Club to check out all your jewels and read everything that you write is when I can read about your emotions and feelings, how you feel when you are designing. And I can totally feel how much you are like embracing this process of learning and accepting the challenge of trying new things and trying new material, despite of it maybe feeling a bit weird, a bit uncomfortable at first. But I can totally sense how you are feeling more and more secure about what's happening on your bead mats, and that you enjoy this journey full of learning and experimenting, despite the possibility of having an occasional setback. And what I also love to see, that you are proud of yourselves and you are happy for each other's successes and celebrate together when someone makes something beautiful. And because of that, I would like to stop now to celebrate this great approach that you have towards the learning process, your own learning process, and the learning process of everyone around you in the Reading School Club. And just let's celebrate with like a beautiful jewel that I saw today after I opened the Reading School Club. I was away for a few days in Istanbul with my family. And thank you so much, Mektap, for asking. It was wonderful. So I had 4 full days of jewels to enjoy. And this beautiful pendant hanging from the ribbon was made by Kata, and I think it's absolutely mind-blowing. And Kata's pendant here features a chaton in a super special bezel with navets, and for me it looks like a sunset, and then a night butterfly is flying towards this sunset. And I think it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful jewel. And yeah, I think this is a really nice way to celebrate and be happy for each other. And while our regular beading school beaders are coming up with more and more special designs and elaborate jewels, it's also important to return to the simpler topics from time to time to make sure that we all have a good understanding of the basics, but also luckily we have every week new and new beaders joining us who might take only their first steps while enjoying this beautiful hobby of us. And I would like to make sure that they get all the help that they need. So let's talk about round stones, round-shaped cabochons today. One of them being included in the middle of Kata's beautiful jewel. So round stones, it's a seemingly simple topic that runs deeper than expected. And that's also very true for me, because when I started to type up what I want to talk about, then I kept writing and writing and writing, and only like 2 minutes before our designated meeting time did I manage to like get dressed properly. And I don't even have coffee today or tea today, only a simple glass of water, because I did not want to skip anything that came to my mind. And I want to make sure today that you understand the differences between the different kind of round stones. So when you look at one, then you can tell what it is, how you can use it, why is it better for one technique and maybe not so fitting or bringing its own challenges when using of something else. So in beading, we have all kinds of shapes and sizes of beading material that doesn't have holes and can be bezeled. And generally, we call all of them cabochons. We call the round stones cabochons, we call the ovals, the navets, everything we call cabochons, no matter how the top or the bottom are shaped, we always call them cabochons. However, when it comes to classically educated jewelry makers, then when they would hear talking us about everything like cabochons, then they might get a small heart attack and they might frown, since in their profession, a cabochon has a special definition. It always has, for like classic jewelry makers, it has a flat bottom and a domed top. So all rivolis and chatons are not cabochons for the classically educated jewelry makers. And it can be the cabochon for classic jewelry makers. It can be of different shapes and sizes, and I will actually show a few to you that I found in my sadly hidden bead embroidery stash. So this is, for example, oh sorry, I need to find it's earring. So this is also a cabochon because it has a flat bottom and a domed smooth top. Then this, a kite-shaped cabochon. This is also a cabochon for classic jewelry makers for the same reason. It has a completely flat bottom and a domed smooth surface. But we call more things cabochons than them. On the other hand, a stone with flat polished facets, like the chatons and the rivolis have, on the top, and also a spiky pointed bottom, like our chatons and rivolis, is called a faceted stone for classic jewelry makers. So, for example, okay, ignore the holes on this, but as you can see, this one has a flat bottom and very few, but it has facets on the top. So this, oh, sorry, this is not the one that I wanted to show. So when it has like facets on the top and facets at the bottom, then it's called a faceted stone. And then there is the category when it has a flat bottom, but not a domed top, but facets on the top, and that is called a faceted top cabochon. And as Lita is mentioning, I had been slightly very confused when I first joined beading school. I trained as a silversmith, and this is the reason. In beading, we don't differentiate as precisely as the classic jewelry makers. And just a little bit of interesting facts. In the meanwhile, I looked up for you a jewel that I made with a real cabochon, which has a flat bottom, domed top. So this is a bead embroidered pendant that I made many years ago, called Aquaterra. So a little bit of interesting information. Usually more opaque, less transparent gemstones. So think about, for example, turquoise or malachite, are cut into a cabochon shape, since the facets are concentrating, since no facets are needed to show a color. But in case of transparent stones, like for example diamonds, the facets are needed to concentrate the light inside the stone. It also depends how hard the gemstone is. If it is more suitable for the smooth surface, or if it's more suitable for cutting the facets or faces. And Lita is asking if this is lapis lazuli. Thank you so much. It's not lapis. It's a jasper, which was colored. So while it is material-wise, it is a gemstone, a natural gemstone, but it was colored, so the color is not natural. I bought it actually in the Himalayas in northern India from a jewelry maker with Tibetan origins. So in beading, as I said, we are usually less precise in differentiating different types of cabochons, but it's nice to know about this, as many of the shapes that we like working with are inspired or even directly taken from the gemstone cutting profession, even if our ones are, for example, made from glass. And just an example, for us, a rivoli and a chaton are both cabochons. However, for a gemstone cutter, they aren't because of their facets on the top and the bottom, and they would call them faceted stones. However, there is one exception. The Preciosa Crystal Factory, they really strictly follow the rules of the original terminology. So when you will look into what the Preciosa Crystal Factory has, then you will see round stones and fancy stones for the crystal glass cabochons with facets. But the only case when they call a cabochon is the nacre cabochon, when they go back to that classic domed shape with the flat surface. But now it's also time to look at the round stones that appear on our bead mats more often than the domed one. So there are basically two types of round cabochons, the ones with a pointy back and the ones with the flat back. And let's start with the pointy back cabochons, and let's start with rivolis. I looked up for you how the cut of the rivoli looks like. This is the drawing for a Preciosa crystal rivoli. And as you can see, rivolis have an identical pointy top and bottom side. We usually use them in sizes between 8 and 14 millimeter, but smaller 6 millimeter ones and bigger 16 and 18 millimeter ones are also available. The shape itself, when we compare, for example, an 8 millimeter rivoli and an 8 millimeter chaton, then the rivoli is thinner and less pointy than a chaton. The Preciosa crystal rivolis, they have 16 identical facets or faces on both sides, with the middle being truly pointy. Sometimes when gemstone cutters make a rivoli, then they would make a tiny smooth point in the middle, but with the Preciosa crystal rivolis, they are perfectly pointy in the middle, both on the top and at the bottom. The rivolis, they tend to have a back foil that reflects light. Both in the cases of rivolis and actually chatons too, the Preciosa cabochons are marked with the letters DF, meaning Durafoil. They developed it a few years ago in order to have a longer lasting effect. It makes them look more sparkly, that wouldn't be achieved with this smaller number of facets compared to chatons. And rivolis can be bezeled with peyote, they can be bezeled with square stitch. When you bezel with square stitch, then in case of the bigger sizes, you will need a smaller number of beads to start with. So for example, for a 12 millimeter rivoli, if you bezel it with peyote, then you will start with 32 delicas, but in case of a square stitch bezel, 30 delica beads are enough. They can also be bezeled with all kinds of shaped beads in different combinations. So I would like to show you Veronka's Kizet, which is, even if it's using some seed beads, then in fact it also incorporates some milky slender bugle beads, so you don't have to stick to peyote or square stitch bezels when working with rivolis. What you need to take into account that because of the back foil of the rivolis, if they turn around, then the foil would be showing. So when you are making earrings or a pendant, for example, you need to make sure that they stay how they are supposed to stay when you are attaching them, for example, to the earring hooks. And what is good about the rivoli is that because of them being less pointy, they are also less prickly. So in case that you have a more sensitive skin, then this is the shape to go when you make tight-fitting bracelets or your necklace rests on your skin directly. When it comes to chatons, there are solutions to solve this, or for example, I am not that sensitive and I don't mind chatons on my skin, but if you are, then rivolis are more comfortable to wear directly on your skin. So let me know, are you team chaton or team rivoli, by the way, or do you even have a preference? I'm curious. In the meanwhile, lots of beaders joined us. Thank you so much for joining. Linda says she loves using both. And Lita says, I love covering the back of rivolis with patterns of peyote. Ginny is team chaton. Cindy didn't decide yet. Ingrid is team rivoli. Donna loves them both. Catherine says, if it sparkles, I love it. Jessica says, Team Rivoli or the new flat bags. Those are nice, right? Sherry uses them both. Lita too. Carol says, no preference. It's usually the color and size that matters rather than the type of stone for me. And as I can see, most of our beaders love using both of them. But for example, Katja has a preference for chatons. And Kata says, for 8mm size, I use chatons, but for bigger size, the Rivoli is more accessible. Indeed. There are also limitations that which shape, which size comes in which colors. And for me, actually, the color is usually the most important. But now let's talk about chatons. I also looked up for you the drawing of the shape of from Preciosa. They what we get actually from Preciosa crystals as chatons, they are actually chaton maximas. They have more facets, and that's why more sparkle than the classic chatons have. Those tiny triangular facets that you can see both on the top and on the bottom of the chaton maxima. Those are the new additions when compared to a classic chaton. So as you can see from this drawing, chatons have facets on the top and the bottom too. But while rivolis had an identical bottom and top, with chatons it differs. The bottom is more pointy than of a rivoli, and when talking about the top, then the top has a smooth surface surrounded with facets of different shapes, actually like trapeze shaped facets and triangular facets in the case of a preciosa chaton. Chatons are usually sparklier than rivolis and can be bezeled with seed beads and shaped beads too. While, in my opinion, rivolis are more suitable to start with when a beader is just learning peyote. With the back being pointier, chatons can be less comfortable to wear directly on your skin if you are sensitive. And if they are irritating your skin or you want to protect the backside better, then you can cover it fully with beads. So I actually have an ebook dedicated to peyote bezels, how to cover the back, where you can find the bead counts and the how you can do it for many different shapes and sizes. And when it comes to square stitch, then you can simply add more rows of seed beads on the back, as I show it in the gift tutorial for the basic square stitch bezel, for example, the Nacre cabochons. And we can easily substitute rivolis to chatons and vice versa when we start with a classic seed bead bezel, since the result is the same. For example, a peyote bezel for an 8mm chaton and an 8mm rivoli, they both start with 22 beads. And when it comes to bezeling and decorating further with bigger beads, with shaped beads, then with some exceptions, we can't so easily substitute one for another because of the different angles of the backsides. I put next to each other the two of them so you can see it. Better. So in fact, when we are bezeling an 8mm chaton or an 8mm rivoli with some shaped beads, then often a completely different tutorial needed to be worked out, or a beginning of the tutorial would be needed to be worked out if you wanted to substitute something for substitute a rivoli for a chaton or the other way. So that's why it's not common or not easy to say when it comes to bigger beads in the bezels. When using a little bit of a challenge, that when you are using chatons in bead embroidery, then you need to take into account the height of the cabochons. It comes somewhat also to rivolis, but they are thinner, so it's not that obvious. But with chatons, it's more problematic that they are also high, so it's not so easy to include them in bead embroidery. It is possible, and my favorite way, and I think the easiest, is to bead a separate bezel first. Just a moment, I'm looking up my picture for you. And then attach the already bezeled cabochon to the foundation with tiny stitches all around. And I actually have a tutorial for this. This is called the Moonlight Sonata, and it is available as a video tutorial on the Beading School YouTube channel. So that's where you can see how I am exactly doing it. Martika says in the meanwhile also that it also depends if you use chatons or rivolis, if you want more or less sparkle. And that is a very good point. Thank you so much for adding that, Martika. Chatons can be made with and without foil. Rivolis could theoretically be made too, but then the sparkle would be lost. But since the chatons have a bigger amount of sparkle, Then they also come as the pure version, because the sparkle, because the facets, they concentrate the sparkle inside the stone, so a reflective layer on the back is not needed. So, for example, in these earrings, Zuzi used the Preciosa Pure Chatons in amethyst color. So it gives you a kind of a see-through effect depending on the specific color, of course. And for me, these Preciosa Pure Chatons, they look like gemstones a bit, so they remind me of a classic ruby or amethyst or sapphire of emerald cabochon in jewelry. And the chatons that we work the most with are of the 8mm size, with an occasional 10mm one. But it's also nice to note that actually, if you have used cup chains in your jewelry, then those tiny crystals in the setting, the 2-3mm crystals, they are also chatons. So by beaders, they can also be used. And I see a question. Cindy says, is there a metal component the Maxima chaton can go into? So in fact, we have the metal claw settings with 4 prongs and with holes on the sizes, where you can put the Preciosa Maxima chatons, and then you can build around them easily. Only thing that when you use these metal claw settings, let me see, for example, I don't have here round ones, but just to give an idea for beaders who not know these claw settings yet. So for example, the cabochons, the kite cabochons and the navette cabochons in this butterfly, they are set into these claw settings with prongs holding the cabochons. And then the metal has holes, so you can bead through the setting. And Colleen in the meanwhile says, I prefer chatons. So when it comes to chatons, what is your favorite way of using them? Do you like to bezel them with seed beads like peyote or square stitch bezel? Do you like to put them into the metal claw setting, or do you like to bezel them with some bigger shaped beads? I looked up for you also a square stitch bezel chaton. These earrings both are made by Susie. And going back for a little bit to Kata's jewel also, because this is also a chaton. In the meanwhile, Katja says, I mostly prefer peyote. Cindy says, I like to bezel them and also put them in metal components. Facebook user friend loves peyote. Kata says, I try to find solutions when I don't cover so much of the bling. Claudia loves bead embroidery. Anita says, I'm just learning about using chatons thanks to beading school. Anita, you will find lots and lots of tutorials, easy tutorials during the No One Has to Bead Alone lessons. So I'm sure that you will get comfortable with them very soon. Carol says, I usually do seed bead bezels, peyote or square stitch, but I like the bezels the creative team comes up with using bigger beads. Lita is team square stitch. Bex says, I love a row, a right angle weave bezel for a chaton. Catherine is for seed beads. Helena says, I have never bezeled any of them yet, but jumping on the train now, how you explain everything so well, thank you. Helena, I'm really happy that this helps, and I'm sure that you will get comfortable with them soon. Make sure to check out the gift tutorials for peyote and also for square stitch on the beading school in the beading school bead shop. For both of them, you can also find video tutorials on the YouTube channel, so you can actually see what's happening. And Sandra says, this is all kind of new for me, so I'm happy to learn the different ways. I'm glad that this is helpful, Sandra. And now, after oh wow, sorry, I need to read this to you because this is super interesting. Thank you so much, Bex. She says, I recently found out that the word chaton comes from the way cat's eyes shine and reflect light. Wow, I'm sure that our cat lovers will love this little piece of information. Thank you, Bex. So after talking about cabochons, round cabochons with pointy, less or more pointy back, let's talk about cabochons with flat back. In our case, the chaton roses. So these crystals, let me look for the cut. This is how the Preciosa Chaton Rose looks like on a drawing, Chaton Rose Maxima, to be exact, because of those extra facets that they inserted when compared to the classic Chaton Rose. So these crystals are a relatively new addition to our stash. From the top, they resemble a chaton. Let's get back to the chaton picture. With the chaton having a bigger smooth part, a bigger smooth circle in the middle of the top side of the crystal. The biggest difference, however, is the backside, since as you can see, the chaton roses have a flat bottom, and this makes them suitable for being glued into flat or semi-flat surfaces. One of my favorite ways of using a chaton rose is to personalize actually my metal components thanks to this possibility of gluing them. So for example, I like to glue them on top of filigrees. Just a sec. This was one of my Dolce Vita necklaces, and I used a filigree with a chaton rose glued on it as a connector. But also, when you would like to have an earring component that is colorful, then it is also a solution to turn to a chaton rose. Either you can make small matching ear studs in your favorite colors and then use them with all of your favorite jewels, or because of the bezel made from seed beads, you can actually hang the beaded motif easily under the bezel. So all you need for these are flatbed ear studs that can be glued on the back of a chaton rose. We have them in different colors in the bead shop, and the 5-6 millimeter size is perfect for them. During my trip, I was of course also beading and using every opportunity to bead. So on the airplane on my way back, I made an earring. I can't show it to you yet, but what I did was that I attached the beaded motif below a bezeled chaton rose. So the part on my ears and under my ears are matching perfectly. And what I did was that I didn't have, of course, glue with me on the airplane, but I added an extra row of size 15s on the back of the chaton rose, and that holds the chaton rose perfectly. The one that I am using here on the filigree and that Susie used for these ear studs, it's a 7 millimeter size of the chaton rose, and that is important to mention because it's good to note that chaton roses come in different sizes than the rivolis and the chatons come usually. So while the pointy back cabochons, the rivolis and the chatons that we talked about earlier, come in 6, 8, 10 and 12 millimeter sizes, the chaton roses that we use by now are 7 and 11 millimeter big in diameter. The reason why we did not go for the 8 millimeter or the normal 12 millimeter sizes, because these sizes are not made by Preciosa at the moment, but still I wanted to have them. So the closest best solution was the 7 and the 11 millimeter size. So that is the reason why we need to work on the bead counts and also on specific designs for the chaton roses separately. So besides being bezeled, they can of course be included in other kinds of settings too. For example, Susie just joined us. And this is the perfect moment. I am showing your beautiful, beautiful bracelet that you made before Christmas. And while one reason why I like the chaton roses is because they simply bring us different opportunities because of the flat back, but also the extra work with working out the different designs and the different bead counts is well worth, not only because of these different possibilities provided by the flat back, but also because the chaton roses come in a lot more colors and then their AB variations than the rivolis and the chatons. And if you watched Coffee Time with Erika, where I introduced the jewels made from the Sibylla box that we are working with at the moment, then I'm pretty sure that you remember Veronka's beautiful buzz jewel. This one. So Veronka's pendant, it is inspired by the buzzing pollinators and their energy, and it features paisley duos and Preciosa suwan rhinestones on the edge that look like little bees or little butterflies. And in fact, the Preciosa suwan rhinestones, they are also Preciosa chaton roses, but set into a metal setting. And then Veronka also used 2 types of cabochons for it. The navet-shaped ones in metal claw settings, and also the chaton roses bezeled with square stitch. So I know that many of you are looking forward to beading this. Me too. And I am happy to announce that the tutorial is nearly ready and will be released next week. But what's also important to know is that if you would like to bead this in more colors in the future, then the treasury team is now just finishing restocking the chaton roses. And if I know well, then they are even adding some new beautiful colors. So let's check out what they were doing today. But before heading over to the bead shop, I would like to mention that this tutorial, the bust tutorial, can be your gift if you decide to place an order, either restocking your round stones or getting whatever you need from the beading school bead shop during this next week. So from today's Coffee Time with Erika until next week's Coffee Time with Erika, what you need to do is to place an order for at least 45 euros, $48 or 39 pounds, and you will receive next week on Wednesday an email from us with the tutorial as a gift to you. Moreover, the treasury team was also working on some sparkly gifts. So everyone who places an order, no matter the amount, will also receive a sparkly surprise from Preciosa. Either nacre pearls or either some crystals that always come handy. And we have a gift for one gift for every beader. And let's see what the treasury team was doing. Just a moment. And let's see the new in the bead shop and the treasury restock categories. So there are some new chaton roses, as you can see. So what I was really looking forward to, that now the 11 millimeter ones that you need for the Pereskia earrings, these are the ones. But also for Ruxandra's latest design that she made from the Jardin Majorelle collection. So these 11 millimeter chaton roses now also come in Bermuda blue and with red light, which are two of my favorite colors. And then from the 7 millimeter version, we now also have fuchsia, Bermuda blue, aurum, and topaz AB. So these are the new ones. And let's see the treasury restock. It's not exactly in the order how they restocked it, but everything from the past week and today. So the chaton rose is restocked in heliotrope in 11 millimeter, and then many colors of the 7 millimeter chaton roses, including AB and opal, and some rare shades like the mesmera, pale lilac, vintage rose, limesicle, and so on. So do you already have a favorite color from the chaton roses, or you haven't tried them yet? I am curious to know. I really like the dark blue ones with the AB effect, for example the deep sea, but also the greenish ones. I used them in, this is also from Veronka. I used them in the Frozen Lake design from Veronka, one of the dark blue shades with AB effect. Carol says her favorite is the Caribbean Sea. Susie says, I like the AB coatings. Shamrock AB is wonderful. Also the blue shades and reds. I haven't had the Shamrock AB yet. I'm curious of that one. As Lutka says, by the way, needles and fireline. Don't forget when you are traveling. Oh, also the AB Chaton Rose box was restocked, as I can see. And I have a feeling that the normal Chaton Rose box without the AB effect too. So ladies, that was my presentation about round stones in beading. Do you have anything that you would like to ask? Something from your own tips and tricks that you would love to share with your fellow beaders? I would love to hear them. Kata likes the AB goodies and loves shamrock. By the way, there are some go-to beads in my own stash where I turn to when I need to solve some basic problems that appear again and again when I am beading. So, for example, just some additional tricks that when I am beading a bracelet, and you know that situation when 5 motifs are too short, 6 motifs are too much, then what I love to do is that I add a peyote or square stitch bezeled either chaton rose or chaton, and that solves the situation because it's usually usually smaller than a whole motif would be. Or for example, when I am trying to hang a pendant on a simple beaded rope, then it's easy to attach a bezeled round stone at the top, and then you can add a piece of peyote on the back from 3 beads, for example, and that's where you can run the cord. Or also they work really, really well as connections between your motifs. So Linda says, thank you, I learned a lot today. I'm really happy about that, Linda. Dawn says, both interesting and educational. Then my goal was achieved, and I would like to thank you for joining me today. Another design, by the way, with chaton roses that I would like to bring to your attention is the lantana, and this is what we are going to bead this upcoming Friday during or no one has to bead alone lesson. So at the usual time on Friday, I am really looking forward to beading with you. Also, I have to say that last week's salvia earrings and jewels came out so beautifully. I loved that you went brave with the colors. And this week we are going to be the design from Susie again, and this is called Lantana, and it features one motif features 2 pieces of chaton roses in the 7mm size. The top one, of course, is optional, and that little part can be easily used as a connector between all kinds of motifs. And the bottom one, it is the one that we are going to work on with, and you will need, besides the 7mm chaton roses, you will need 6mm Miyuki slender bugles, you will need 4mm Preciosa nacre pearls, and 4 and 3mm Preciosa bicons, and then seed beads, size 15 and size 11 round Miyuki seed beads, and also a bunch of Miyuki delicas. And of course, depending on how you would like to finish the jewels, you will also need earring hooks or clasp, or maybe a drop that you would like to add at the bottom. That part is completely up to you. So, do you have any questions about the No One Has to Beat Alone lesson? In the meanwhile, Catherine says, I didn't know the difference between the chaton rose and the chaton rose maxima before. Then I'm super happy that I could bring that little piece of knowledge to you today. And Elena says, I hope I won't have problems with the internet so I can follow the lessons while on vacation. Elena said she's going on vacation soon. My husband promised me that he will download the offered models. I'm leaving alone. So, ladies, then again, thank you so much for today's company. Thank you for sharing your opinion about round stones and all your personal experience, and wishing you a wonderful week, and see you on Friday. Bye bye.